Hey guys, it's Nabisa
And Marshall.
talking to you from mp3 Radio 6.1 FM. We're gonna tone things down for a bit today.
We figured it's time that we start talking about what's important.
In today's episode of Bloodlines, we're gonna talk about sexual harassment. She was like a flower that danced with the wind. Fragile, beautiful, innocent. She had an entire life to live for. She was grace, she was courage, she was unique. Her mama always said that rapists and sexual offenders were men in black hoodies hidden in twisting shadows and dark alleyways. Sexual offenders, they were always leaving old men in bags, never blonde-haired or blue-eyed and always smiling. Not once did you think to question the intentions of his warm and familiar fingertips. When you find yourself locked in his claws and he tells you, oh, that you must want it, don't be a tease, look at what you're wearing. A sliver of skin mistaken for an invitation. How many times have you felt uncomfortable by inappropriate jokes, sexually harassed, groped in the streets, made to feel like a sex object, belittled, shamed, removed of all dignity? Unfortunately for many, this is an everyday reality. Insane to me. You're a grown person. How do you fail to understand that my body is not a public property? I'm not here for your pleasure. You do not get to do with me as you please. Even if I'm walking around stark naked out of my mind, you still do not get to touch me. Throughout time, objectification of our bodies have been normalized, and it's time people realize that we are human beings with thoughts and emotions. We will not put up with this anymore. I will fight to take back what's rightfully mine. Go out there and be bold. Make noise, take up space. We will no longer hide. We will take control of our bodies and we will own it with pride. We will not be ashamed or belittled anymore. Not now, not today, not tomorrow, or any other time. This sort of behavior happens all too often, and we're all aware of it happening, yet choose to ignore it blindly. What does this kind of behavior have to say about our society? You think, oh, it's alright, it's an everyday thing anyway. And what kind of effect does this kind of attitude have on our future generations? I know it's difficult, but it's so important for us to speak out and admit that there is something really wrong here and that sexual assault exists. Thank you. Whether you're young or old, open-minded or closed-minded, male or female, you've all wondered at some point when you've heard about sexual harassment incidents, and that is, what went on in the harasser's mind when he committed such a grotesque thing? Well, to tame your curiosity, we questioned a psychologist to enlighten you further about the topic. Ms. Sanakshi, thank you for being with us over here today.
Thank you so much, Nabisa. It's a pleasure to be with you.
My first question that I want to ask is specifically during events such as farewell, and there's a lot of people that go around harassing other girls, saying inappropriate things, and they think it's so prevalent in universities.
Yes, a couple of incidents must have taken which imply the fact that when you're not under supervision, then obviously, it's almost like saying why when somebody is anonymous, you're able to write and express yourself more. So the factor that there are two factors which are very important in it. One of the factors is anonymity, and the other factor is a group effect. Sometimes when you do underage drinking in a group, what happens is, there is no delegation. There's no one person who will be caught. So it's an easy escape for students to explore their possibilities. There is no group punishment per se for something like that. And also, a fact that this is their transition period. So they are exploring their ideologies of freedom.
Thank you for that, Miss. The next question is that we all know the victim's story and we all sympathize with them, but we don't really understand why the wrongdoers did such a thing.
Nothing comes up suddenly. It's a gradual process. That yes, there are so many things that are born out of how your childhood practices are, which I think is the most important aspect. If you have been abused in childhood, you feel that you have the right to abuse someone else also. Sometimes that is one of the factors. Then if you have been abused, you have been suppressed in your childhood, you have been not given proper training, which is how to take care of yourself or your conduct vis-a-vis outsiders or respecting women. Awareness is most important. Awareness of your own body is most important. When you're a university student, there are two things you must remember. This is the capacity that we have. This is the amount of extension that we do want to do for ourselves outside to other people. I think you can be strong enough to definitely know that whether something is going beyond, and if something is going beyond, it's your choice to stop it now.
Thank you, Miss.
We've all been there. We've been either sexually assaulted by someone, or we have consciously or unconsciously assaulted someone else. It's the sad truth. And in this society where women are deemed to be the only victims of this heinous act, I beg to differ. I believe that men, women, and children all share the same fate.
Well, that's so true, Marsha. That's something I cannot deny.
In fact, let me tell you a personal story of mine. When I was in grade 10th, and this was around my mid-teens, I was an innocent little boy. Well, not completely innocent, let's just say half innocent. So I'm going to my tuitions, and I was already late. My dad couldn't drop me anymore, so I had to take a cab. And what seemed to be a normal cab ride didn't turn out that way. So this cab driver starts massaging my foot. I just froze there. And slowly he began to touch my inner thighs and move across towards my crouch. That's when I slapped his hand and told him to pull over. I gave him the money and I got out of the cab and never looked back. I decided I could walk all the way to tuitions than sit in this guy's cab. And after this experience, I remember I was just totally disgusted with what happened. I learned that this is something that nobody should ever experience.